welcome to Insane in Endgame. It's gonna be insane, it's gonna be intense, you guys are gonna have a lot of fun. And I'm Dorsa Derakhshani with Ben Simon also helping out. So I hope you just watched the chess and psychology lesson and are just joining us from there. So for those of you who wonder, in that last 5 minutes, I inhaled a half a donut and I refilled my tea, so I am all charged to go. All right, so I have last week we did a lot of this kind of weird / cute puzzles that I think you guys enjoyed. So I'm gonna go ahead and show more of those. I have 20 of them prepared. If we somehow need more, I always have more. You guys know that. I have like 50,000 puzzles in one of my databases that I just keep adding on to whenever I see a cool position. So we're never gonna run out of puzzles, not in this lifetime. Maybe my offsprings will, but I've been reading on evolution a little. So besides that, we are gonna have a lot of fun with these. There's gonna be some fun stalemates, fun draws, fun weird wins. The idea is that I want to keep it as insane and intense as possible. So let's go. What do you think white should do here? I did not manually collect 50,000. No, I had about the first 30,000 of it kind of handed to me. There was like this humongous database called 26,000. It's like studies and endgames, and I believe some of these are directly from that. I have no idea who the author is because it was just handed to me growing up when I was, I think, in 2012 or 13. So yeah, keep that in mind. But I kept adding on to it, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Keep in mind, if you start with bishop c2, first of all, black doesn't have to take it. Second of all, if bishop c2, black takes it, how would you get rid of the rook? That's kind of the problem. No, that's not, it's not going to work. If bishop c2, queen c2, you keep giving check, the king will come to the c file or the second rank, and you are going to run out of checks. I like that. The chat is somewhat answering themselves. I'm loving it.
Are all of these compositions today?
Kind of, but there are few that are real games. At least the next 10 or so is just compositions. Alright, so I'll give you a hint. There is only one move that draws, and it is not the move with bishop to c2. Bishop c2 is like your second move. The goal is that I want to trick you into taking my rook, so then I do bishop c2. But it's not exactly a trick, as in I'm trying to persuade you. There we go. Actually, let me show you why bishop c2 doesn't work. That might be easier. Take. Now, depending on where you go, let's say rook goes to h4, just I move, you go over here. First of all, queen can take. Second of all, you go over here, it's king f6. Check, king e5. You are gonna run out of checks to give because of this diagonal. I'm assuming even king g5 works, because if check, king goes to f5, because if check, I'll just go back to e5. If somehow, trying to say, if we gave check from the other side, what about that? Now the king can just go to g6, check, king e5, king f5, if check, again king f4, and we are out of checks. This is a very important diagonal. So that's kind of why this doesn't work. Bishop c2. Alright, Manish seems to be up to something. Why do you like bishop b3? Alright, I like the idea of bishop going to b3 because if you were to take it, now I can give you this check, king move, and whoops, now I have to go up there, king moves, now again I can give you check, king moves, check, king moves, check. I have this, all this for myself to give you check. There's no queen on c2 to take away my squares. Let's see, what if I check you from the other side? Again, I can do that. Again, I can do that, but now you're a little busted. So you have to make sure you give check in the right way. You want to be able to give check indefinitely. So you don't want there to be a square. So honestly, I think this is the easiest way, and just keep checking in these file, and that should be it. If he doesn't take, if he plays take over here, bishop c2, kaboom, you take and draw. That was fun, right? A little insane. What about this one? Good luck. If there are ever questions about a previous puzzle, just let me know and we can always go back. It's a little hard, I agree. So to answer I'm Annie, from what I can think of, you would have to get to a3 by b4. But if I give you like rook h5, you go king b4, I have rook b5. Also, I'm Annie, that's kind of the problem because you can't really come to the b file because I'll always have rook b somewhere, and then you would have to take it with the king. Otherwise, you would lose your queen. Okay, what about this one? I see some ideas with giving up the queen. So we kind of do want to give up the queen, but make sure that you're giving it up in a good way. Queen h8, he just takes it. Then what? If rook h2, he has no obligation on taking it. Also, rook h2, if takes, then I would have to take back with the king. So I know, right? It's so silent. Everybody's thinking. All right, so I'll give you a little hint. This queen is a little too far to give us stalemate. We need it to come a little bit closer, maybe somewhere around here. This should give you a little more ideas. But you can't do queen a2 right now, because queen a2, rook takes 8. Queen a2, rook a2. You can just play f3 and you are busted. I do enjoy that the chat is kind of answering each other. I think that's such a great thing, because it kind of saves me a little time to address every single question. Yeah, Manish, you got it. Rook h2 first. I want to give you some funny check ideas. If you take it, no, just queen a2. You take and voila, draw. Now it's funny because if you don't take it, let's say you are too just ignorant and you play queen e3. Now check, now check, now another check. Now maybe another check over here for you. Maybe another one for you. I kind of wanna maybe queen c6, king b2. Let's do this. Okay, now I just want to do checkmate. Yeah, see? If you give your opponent's activity and the unnecessary, the piece activity and all these ideas with checks and everything, it's going to be very painful for you. So guys, don't do that. Don't give your opponents happiness. All right, so what about this one? Black to move. Oh, I see you guys are looking at the results. Woohoo. Good. Well, if you know black's going to win, how are you going to do it? Let me give you a little head start. There are different things that white could do. Let me just tell you, what if white played king d2? Let's just go from there. Let's look at this position first. Yeah, b4 easily does win. Get your b4, get your c3. If king goes to b3, now you can easily do c4 because you can't take it. I'll have c2. If you play king c2, now I'll just wait. I'll just wait. If you push pawn, I'll just be going king up. If you don't push pawn, again, I'll push my pawn. Again, the same idea. Eventually you are going to run out of moves. But now, what about this position? Keep in mind, if we take both of these pawns, this is going to be a draw. So we can't take both of the pawns. So what should we do? Anybody sees some cool ideas, some stuff to do with the pawns? Yeah, well, fun fact, this is not forced. You can do this cool idea of a checkmate. That was kind of something that I really wanted to show off. All right, let's move on to some cool draws. All right, so white to move. Do you think white can win this? Again, to be fair, I know that it says draw up there, but still, it doesn't mean that this is going to be a draw. We did look at some interesting queen versus rook ideas in our endgames, I believe last week, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you still can't do the best moves. You should do the best moves and then wait for your opponent to mess up. Also, I'm a little curious, anybody else, school, college, starting next week, like end of January? Because I find that extremely weird. I've had my school starting mid-January most of the times, but this time it's just, yeah, I mean, I understand that they want less time with less kids on, less time with more kids on campus. There we go. Well, most of the school starts, I want to say maybe about second, third week of January. Mine schools are starting 28th. And then like it's a Thursday, so I'll go to school for Thursday and Friday, and then that's all for January. It's a little funny. Yeah, most of my classes are online anyways, so right, so I see some ideas with queen. If any of you remember our lessons last week, you remember queen g5 is the way to go. Generally, when this pawn structure is this. The problem is if you played queen to d7, there's this weird g5. If take, now rook g6, and now this is a mini fortress. You cannot penetrate it. If king goes to d4, same idea, g5, and either rook goes to g6 or king goes to h7. Similar thing. This, with the rook on 6th rank, with the king over here, it's a fortress. One more thing to look at is that when we play queen g5, what do you think is the best move for black? Keep in mind that white still has this extra pawn, so we would like to push it and we would like to put it to good use. But how? Don't necessarily have to take it though. Alright, so I gave you guys a little bit of hints that white wants to play h5. So I want to play this h5, so you should stop me. You should move your king away. King h7. If you played king g8, I would have h5. And now again, these ideas are piling up. So you should play king h7. So if h5 now, you can just take, and just king g7. Now this is again a draw. 7th rank pawn, 6th rank rook, voila, draw. So in this position, let's say king goes to c5. Again, you will keep your king right around here. Just keep moving this bad boy. Alright, even if check, just king goes away. If h5, again, there is take. We want our rook to also be protected. Alright, great. Thank you, Stefan. Alrighty. I understand that queen endgames are not the happiest type of endgames. I don't feel them either. It's a little queen versus rook especially. It's just one of those painful ones. So what do you think? If you guys want to make it a little more exciting, we could just crop this part out. So no more hints for you guys. I kind of like that idea. No more hints for you guys. You won't know if it's a draw, if it's a win, if it's going to be a double loss. Ooh.
You want that?
Yeah, let's give them a little more excitement.
Alright, well, it's too late for this one.
Sure. Alright, so you guys already know about this one. For next one, we're going to take away your hands. Woo-hoo-hoo.
And it's gone now.
Uh-oh. So what do you guys think? What do you think should be the move? Do you only have one move that you draw? One move. One move draws, everything else you would be washing the dishes? I don't know. That's kind of a Persian slang that my mom would use whenever I was lost. Not in chess, just generally. When there was like an only move in life and I wouldn't find it. Anyways. So what do you guys think? What's your one move? Nope, not king f2. Not g3. Ooh. The problem with g3 is king h3. If you moved there, now there's this nasty h4. If you take, boom, bam, mate. If you don't take, he'll take it, and then he'll eat every single pawn that you hold dear. So not g3. The problem with king f2. Does anybody want to tell me what's the problem with king f2? Maybe I can make it more interesting. If you tell me what's the problem with king f2, you survive, you are not washing dishes. night type of deal. You're good. No need to wash dishes. I need a dishwasher, man. I'm so tired of washing dishes. Okay. Yes, g3. You guys got it. G3, the pawn takes it. And if we take over here, king h3. This poor guy falls, even if you play g4. Take, take, take. And this one will fall to, yeah. King goes up, just g3, and that's a pass pawn. Alright, so we're back to this position. We said no to this and no to that. h3 is also off the table automatically. So we're kind of left with king h1. King h1 is best because if you played f2, now I'll play g3, and now this is a stalemate. But that's why you shouldn't play this f2. What if g3? What if you play g3? Now what do we do? Yes, h3 is the way to go. Be careful, do not take this, because now you still have a bunch of moves. You want to be able to box your king. You want to do this. F2, draw, if take, take. This is funny. Now black doesn't have anywhere to go. Alright, great. Let's move on to the next one. White to move. Now, what about this one? Can white, I want to say, not lose this? Let's go with not losing. Make sure you calculate and make sure you actually keep in mind what your opponent wants to do. I know, right? If this end game is, if I have 5 minutes on my clock and this end game is with me, I probably would spend 4 minutes and 30 seconds here. It is white to move. I think the first thing to notice is that your king is already way too far behind to be able to make it in time. That's true. No mating for white. I agree with that. So I see the idea of knight c3. Maybe first of all tell me what's wrong with if you played knight f2. g3, I agree. Knight f2 does not work because g3, whoa, g3, knight h3, f3. And you can't stop them both. Alright, same idea with king d5. Just push. And that's about it too. So that's why you have to try and get your knight somewhere that can control more squares. Where better than center? So let's go. Knight c3. Now what if you played f3? Just knight e4, stopping these two bad boys. You push here. I'll just eat this, and then knight h3. You push here. I'll just eat this, and well, this is already controlled. So knight c3. Let's say f3. Oh, sorry, let's say g3. Now what do you do? Knight f2 is not a draw. Knight f2 in the beginning position is not a draw. Nope, no knight b5. Your knight's getting too far. Sorry. Knight b5 is possible, but what can you tell me what's wrong with knight e2 first? Because if knight e2 works, then no need to think about knight far away on b5. Knight b5 does work, I agree. Thank you, Great Wolf. But if knight b5, king moves, knight d4, you kind of stop this. Good. It's a similar idea with knight e2. The knight e2 is just, it feels a little bit more straightforward because I'm already attacking your pawn. If you play g2, knight g1. That's about it. If you play f3, I'll just take over here, and that's it too. Alright, so, yep, that's the puzzle. Let's go move to Averbakh. Oh, that is gonna be... Wait. This feels too familiar for me. No, we're good. Can white win this? There was Great Wolf. There was knight b5 and knight e2. The pawn is going that way. Make sure you think about your checks. Yes, let's see if this is a win. We want to be able to trade the queens, but can we? How? Well, if you played queen b4, let's say king moves, let's just say king goes to a1, queen f8, then just queen d5 and it will be a perpetual. I see a lot of ideas about you guys feeling this is a draw. Maybe let's give it another minute or two and before we dive a little deeper into it. Alright, so to be fair, this is a draw. You guys were correct. I was just teasing you a little bit. Well, I wasn't teasing you. Averbakh was teasing me, and then I teased you. So, if you were to... There's no way to actually win this, but there are ways to make your opponent's life a little more complicated. For example, this idea with queen b6, king a1, check, and then trying to go to f7. But the problem is again queen c8 and then queen goes to h3 and you're not going to be able to get rid of all these checks. So that's another idea that you could potentially work on and try to see if your opponent can actually find the best move or not. The other idea is the one that we just mentioned with trying to play maybe with a king h8, a little modification. I want to give you a queen, but just queen goes to e5. To be fair, again, queen h3 is a draw. Whoops, queen h3 is a draw. But just check. King up here. Oh, hold on, my bad. This is not, well, this is still a draw too. But easier way, just check over here. You have to take it and stalemates. Can I show a way to lose? Yeah, of course. There you go. Boom. There's a way to lose. The pawn on B is a lost. If the pawn was on A or C, that would be a draw. Easy way to lose. All right, what about this one? Draw, win, white to move. Pawns are going those ways. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, you as white have one way to save the game. Everything else loses. I told you this today would be insane and intense. Now, for those of you who are saying draw, where do you think we should go? And no, king b4 is not the way. I like this. This is a little torturous. So let's look at king d2, for example. If king goes to d2, king up. Hold on, here actually there is king c1. So the thing is that black wants to get his king to f3 and get over here, but at the same time, black wants to play it strategically. So he wants to be close enough that if your king gets too close to the king side, then he goes and eats this pawn. So it's just a game of strategy of how which one he can eat faster or better. So if king goes to d2, there's this ideas with one of these three moves. Let's say you go king g7. Let's say you play king e2. Now king goes to e2. How many squares are away from this pawn? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many is hit away? 1, 2, 3, 4. But when you get here, king will be on a5. So let's say king goes to f6. I want to go up and I could go down. If you play king d2, now how many squares am I away? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so I still am a little too far away. So let's just go with king f5. Now if king goes to e2, now I can actually go eat that. I am right on time. Boom. Yeah, now white is definitely losing. So let's go back to here. King f5, let's say you play king d1. But now, again, you are 1, 2, 3, 4 square away, but I'm only 3. So let's say you go up. Now you are unable to block me from coming to f3. Boom, king f3. That guy is mine. That's why white has to play it super accurately. So you have to calculate. I showed you why king d2 doesn't work, but I want you guys to calculate what actually works. Because if you go up, then you might be too far away from this guy. Can you go here? Can you go here? Well, you basically have, without king d2, you have 4 viable options. Which one is the right one? Only one works. Only one. Feel free to correct yourself in the chat too. You can brainstorm off of each other. You can answer each other. I would absolutely love that too. So keep in mind, king c2, what if black just plays king to h6? Kills one move with trying to get it a little closer. Elvis, even if they are, they're not getting it correct. Let's start. I'll give you guys another minute while you're still thinking. So the idea of going back and forth is an interesting one, but king b3 is not it. King b3, king goes to g7, you go back, now just king can go to g6. I still maintain my distance from both of the pawns. I need 1, 2, 3, 4 to eat this, to attack this. I need 1, 2, 3, 4 to attack this. This like kind of golden idea. King d2, because you need 1, 2, 3 to stop me from coming to f3. Sorry. You need 1, 2, 3 to stop me from coming to f3. Let's say now I can go king to f7 or f5. Let's just go to f5. Whoops. Now, if you go to e2, you're too far away from this guy. If you go up, you're too far away from this guy. So that's kind of the problem. It's so weird because your king is never gonna be right on time. Unless you go to, nope, b2, exactly. I was kind of hoping somebody would say it when I was saying unless. It was dramatic, a little cinematic. Nice. Yes, king b2 is the move. It's so weird because when you go king g7, my critical squares are c3, d2, c2. These are my critical squares. So all I'm going to do is just sit away. Sit away. All I'm going to do is sit. If you go to g8, I'll make fun of you by going to a1. If you go to f7, just king b2. Depending on where you go, you come to f6, now I'll just go to c2. When you play king f5, I'm ready to go to d2. I don't have to move these kings anywhere else from d2. If you play king to g4, alright, I'll stop you. If you go to e6, alright, I'll come up with you. These two squares of d2 and f5 are kind of the killer ideas. Yeah. First move, there's a question, why not king b2? Why not king b2, king g6? You can, but I would just play king c1. The idea is I don't want to play king d2 until you play king f5. Those are like the bump squares. Wait, there's a different thing. Mine squares? Like, you know, if you step on it, boom. But not the fun boom. I know the Persian name for it. I'm pretty sure it's mins. Let me just look it up. This is bugging me a little.
Are you talking in English?
I'm trying.
Oh yeah, it's just a mine.
Mine, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought I was talking a different language. It's just min. It's like you step on the min and, oops, landmine, probably.
Yeah.
Makes more sense. All right, so these two squares are those two squares. You step on it before your opponent does, and you are not much of you going to be left. So, yeah, we want king f5 first before we do king d2. That's the whole idea of this puzzle. And for that reason, I'm even willing to go all the way to a1. Oh, conjugate. That just reminds me of acid-base chemistry. Any question on this puzzle before we move on? All right, I'm gonna go ahead. This one, you guys might enjoy this one a little more. Elvis, no, I will not be on Twitch after this. I have to go attend to GMPC. He's been very vocal, singing all night. Yeah, I have to actually review my acid-base chemistry this weekend. I am quite terrified of it. So I'm glad that chat feels the same. I agree, if it's black to move, that's going to be a mate in one fun stuff, but it's not, it's white to move. The trick with the previous puzzle was that you had to try and figure out that, well, to be fair, not necessarily your opponents would play every single move correctly, but as long as you understood that the f5 and d2 squares in the previous puzzle were those poisoned, landmine, blah blah squares, you would try to do your best to avoid them, and you could easily try and find to that extent. And then king b2 might be a little too much. You know, you might be surprised. White actually does have a chance to win. Depending on how black plays though, but so you guys have it correct. You have to take this first. If you take with the king, I will take this and I'll make it into a knight. I'll give you check. My bishop is also defending it, and then I'll take over here. And that has a good chance for white to win. Good chance. Not winning. There's a good chance. There's a difference. So if you take with queen, again, kaboom, checkmate. What if king goes to a8? Because now if you take and make a queen, I'll just take it over here. And now this is going to be a stalemate, rook d1. So what if king goes to a8? Stalemate, yeah, chess is cruel. Anybody else? Yeah, we gotta do a rook promotion. You take, make rook, king moves. I'll take that. I have this guy extra, that guy extra. It's a lovely position. All right, finally, we had one win. Let's see, can we try and squeeze in a few more? Main question here is a little bit more theoretical. Again, white to move. Do you think white can win this? Is this a winnable endgame for white? Check him to death. I wish that was that easy. Also, I wish I could do that to my MCAT. Yeah, I was, while you guys are still thinking about this, I'll tell you a tiny bit of weird humor. So recently I've been trying to find study buddies who are actually also studying for MCAT to take it in either March or May, preferably May. And some of my friends who are actually like classmates are doing MCAT, but none of them are actually studying for it. So one of them is, but a different program. So I've been trying to like group up with them, and yesterday I was a little desperate and I was this close to going Craigslist and put an ad for anybody want to study MCAT with me. I didn't do that, but the idea actually came into my mind and I talked to people about it. But anyways, just letting you know that checking it to death is definitely a thing. Actually, it's not the worst. Yes, what's up, Ghost of Beauty? It is a draw. I agree with you. When it's queen and rook, there is usually going to be some weird draws left and right. So even if you play this correctly and you keep the king cut away from the rook, there is this rook e7 that helps the king try to run. That's why it's a draw. If you could keep, if like, let's say if he would try to move the king away, let's say if he would just play it wrong, and if he gave enough room for you to try and attack this king and rook, then you could actually have some hopes for this position. But the problem is that he will just keep his rook and king right next to each other. All right, what about this one? Can I win this with white? Yes, that is also true, Exquisite. If that pawn didn't exist, my king would be somewhat free to come and assist my queen. So Ghost of Beauty is asking if a king and pawn and I just have a king, can I stop it from becoming a queen? Depending on the position, there are a lot of drop king and pawn endgames. The best thing that I learned from king and pawn endgames, where the easiest ones were from the Dvorsky endgames, that I actually have been teaching that on our Twitch channel since, I want to say, almost little less than a year. I think I started teaching those in April for the king and pawn warfare. It's been quite fun. We've had a lot of fun with our kings and pawns. Alright, so I see some ideas with rook b1, I see some ideas with rook a1. Good question. Do we want to try and push the G or D pawn? So they're all valid questions. The thing is, I'll tell you what is wrong with rook b1. The problem is knight goes to a4. Even if you do this rook a1, bishop c6. So that doesn't help you. We want to take away our opponent's piece activity. This knight looks so cute here. I want to keep it here. I don't want to let it fly away. So how? What else? Oh, Great Wolf is thinking. Good. I like it. Rook c8. Activate the rook. Now, where can this poor guy go? You go here, I'll go there. You can't go here, I'll eat it. You can't go here or here, I'll eat it. You go to g2, there's rook c2. You go to f3, there's rook f8. What about bishop h1? Anybody? Yes, rook goes to h8. Good, good. And then again, you can't really go any of these squares. f3, there's there, that I eat. So you go here, there's rook b8. So if rook goes to c6, now I have this new shiny square for me to go to. That's why it's a win. Good job, guys. This was actually a very nice puzzle. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's try to squeeze in maybe one or two more. This should be a little easier. So, a Ghost of Beauty, this might help answer your question too. So, try to do, it's white to move. So, try your best to see, can white win this? I agree, right? That was such an empty board and it still got a little ugly. Okay, so I'm seeing some nice ideas coming in. Sacrificing the pawn. Yes, white can win. Yeah, it's about the idea of breakthrough. You guys got this. c5, kaboom. If you take, Hello, new queen. If you don't take and you play b5, now just push. Push. Keep in mind, we can easily bring in our king. No need to be a hero. Just go. Don't try to let your opponent make a queen. This is something that I've actually seen a lot of players do this as a mistake. They just push. And even though, yes, this still, you do end up with an extra pawn, this is so hard to win. Don't do that. Just do take, a5. Sorry, just do if push, just bring your king. Voila, easy peasy. Don't make your life living hell. Don't do that. There we go. What about this one? White to move. Can white win this? All right, I see some ideas coming in. All right, somebody's saying it's a draw. I have to disagree. King d6 is the good move. You are confusing your opponent. If king g5, now I'll just go king e5, and then I can just make it into a nice shiny queen. If take, well, that's for that. If take, king goes up. The idea is that king d6, the problem is kind of that even if you play rook b8, then I can simply play king to c7. We have looked at a similar position with this weeks ago. The idea was that you just shouldn't get your king to 7th rank, and the only trick that black could do is try to wait for you to get your king to the 7th rank. So because if you play this, now take and check, and well, I'll take your other one. So yeah, there are a lot of cool tricks here. I will be sharing this link with you guys. I think this was such a great study. Feel free to check them out. I really did enjoy our today's session. We had some nice tata still going on. We got some insane/intense endgame going on. Make sure to join me for tomorrow's Twitch channel, Playing the Viewer, and after that, just frequently look us up on Twitch and YouTube. Thank you for joining me tonight, which is on psychology and insane in endgame. Have a good rest of your night.